everyone and welcome back to SwitchUp, and it's with some trepidation honestly that I bring you this review. I didn't plan on it, but I played it or started playing it yesterday morning and then finished around about 2:30 in the morning, and all I wanted to do was play again. Doomsday Hunters is an incredibly addictive new roguelike in the same vein as Hades, but with its own unique stylings. It was developed by Gameplay First, it fits into just 255 megs, and it has the roguelike balance spot on. It's also on a 15% sale. Alright, why might this be your next pickup, but certainly not your next put down? Well, let's find out. The game is set in the year 420 AC, after what's described as a cataclysmic event. The Earth, is gone, and it's been replaced by the world you see before you. It's filled with hideous monsters, demons, and other beings, and then they tell you about Dracula, who becomes a big beast, and then I got confused and didn't really care. Needless to say, a slightly deformed version of Dracula rules over this hideous world, and it's up to you to work your way through and destroy him. Now, from my understanding, this game has been in the works for 9 years for this team. When you hear something like that, you have flashes back to Duke Nukem Forever and other disasters that never turned out the way they were intended. Doomsday Hunters feels like the other end of that spectrum. There are a couple of things that go against it. I've got to say, the name, it's okay, but it's not that catchy. And the thumbnail artwork, these fickle things can affect your sales in the eShop, but as soon as you boot it up, everything else just screams quality. Now you'll start out in a hub area from which you can choose one of the characters, hopefully, that you've unlocked, but you'll start out with this guy. Every single character is almost a class of its own. They have unique starting weapons, some of them long range, some of them up close and personal. It's got a DPS indicator, which the nerd in me absolutely loves, and that's for every single weapon, and you have a main and side weapon that can be equipped at any one time. Alongside this, and something I also really enjoy, is that you have an inventory. So as you progress through the game, you can pick weapons up, store them in your inventory, and switch them out whenever you want. Such a simple thing taken from the likes of RPGs that makes the roguelite feel so much more enjoyable. You don't constantly have to get rid of the weapon that you have to try a new one out. You can have 4 or 5 in the bag, and then you can also increase the number of weapon spots you've got. Now it controls in a twin stick manner. In that start area, once you've chosen your class, there are a number of further modifiers that you can apply to your game. Things like a higher drop rate of ammo, an easy mode, all those things that you're probably not going to use, but once you've completed the games a few times, you might want to mix things up or switch them up. Then you've got your meta upgrades. These come from one of the permanent currencies in the game, which we'll talk about in a little while, but they allow you to branch your character development into one of several different areas, like the Puncher, which has a Rocky Balboa themed set of upgrades and unlocks several unique melee based attacks, or another focusing on health and a further one money. This is a great system for adding longevity to the experience, and I was constantly unlocking new things which change the way I play the game. There's also a full tutorial if you're interested in that, but you really don't need it. It's one of those you can pick up and play. Once you've done all of that, you go to this area and enter your first run. Now there is an element of procedural generation, but it's done right. It has that handcrafted but also procedural generated to give randomization aspect. That means different enemies, different layouts of the certain stages. We've seen it done this well in the likes of The Binding of Isaac, and here's how it plays out. You'll drop into an area with usually 4 exits. Approaching one of these will see you launch across a bridge, and these first locations are surrounded by radioactive water. You can be knocked out into this and it will cause you significant damage and radiation, but usually you'll have a number of enemies spawning in and you'll have to take those out. Controls are the twin stick nature. The right stick controls the gun, the left stick controls your character. You use a trigger which allows you to jump or roll. Again, the different classes have a different move here. One of them slows down time, another jumps high into the air, and the default class does almost a dodge roll. Those controls are very responsive, and there's a lovely degree of HD rumble. Now your weapons, as I mentioned, are split between a sidearm, which appears to have infinite ammunition, and your main weapon. Eradicating the enemies in an area usually rewards you in some way. It might be a chest, which you can shoot to open, or you can remove it in exchange for some of that permanent currency. The amount of times I knew I had an amazing weapon, a brilliant loadout, but I could not resist the urge to open that chest. And anything that's dropped on the ground that you stand over will be directly compared to your current loadout. It makes quickly making decisions about what to pick up, what to scrap for gold really easy. And as I said at the start, you can carry up to 5 other weapons, so you can just throw things in your inventory. One of the most important things about any roguelite are the enemies, and here you're looking at 160 different enemy types. It can't be understated how often you'll encounter new ones, and how unique they are to fight. If you're a min-max player, you are going to be in heaven. You'll often encounter other characters. They might be human or robot or somewhere in between, and they'll offer you different trades, like a certain amount of coins for a gun upgrade, or one that actually wants to eat your gun in exchange for a load of coins. Again, you have another option. You can send them back and rescue them, which will reward you in turn with some of that more hard to reach currency. Now, other than other characters, there are shops. Sometimes these spawn into the world, and you'll use the gold coins, hopefully you've collected, to unlock further trinkets. It does that thing that the Binding of Isaac did, where if you actually use your noggin when you go into them, you can come out with a much better deal. For example, for 20 gold coins, you might be able to buy 40 gold coins. But if you're not paying attention, you'll completely miss that and then not be able to afford that upgrade. Now, aside from getting new better weapons in the form of main and side ones, you've got several relics, as well as weapon mods. There are also skills and usable perks. On the left-hand side of the screen, these are your active, often offensive abilities that will use up your mana and have a cooldown between uses. There's everything from frozen bullets to a platform that launches you up in the air and makes you almost untouchable while firing off rockets, or how about turning yourself into a spinning blade of death. Now, the map gradually expands, and with the progression into each new area, you're working your way towards the inevitable boss fight. There are currently 20 bosses, which is a decent number, and I'm sure we'd see some more added in over time. But for me, it's the real variety that comes with loading out your current class and build that is elevating this one above so many other roguelites. There's 1,200 different items to pick up. They'll have a profound impact on the way the game plays out. Then you factor in that between each of the levels, you're actually leveling up your character as well, and you can tie upgrades to that. So I could level to level 2. This would give me a 5% increase to my overall health, and once I've defeated the boss, I can board the ship, apply another permanent upgrade, and then move on to the next area. Now, the level design remains quite consistent. It will feel really familiar if you played Hades. It feels like there's a bit of a Bastion influence as well in some of the game's artistic direction, but as for controls, it feels more Enter the Gungeon to me, and I mean that in the best possible way. Now, so far, I'd say it's fair that I've put in around about 8 hours to Doomsday Hunter. In that time, I've completed it fully once, as in got to the end of a run, and that is not completing it fully. Without spoiling it, it has continuity between runs, and the goalposts slightly move as you go on, very similar to the Binding of Isaac in that regard. Other gameplay aspects include finding keys in chests, challenge rooms which will involve defeating a certain amount of enemies before you unlock a reward, loads of little secret areas, and of course, you don't have to open the full map before you progress to the next stage, often finding shortcuts or little unlocks. As far as gameplay goes, it's absolutely exceptional, really fun to play. Where it lacks is in the story department, which is a shame, but this is all about the pick up and play, pure enjoyment of a well-crafted experience. Story and gameplay combined, that gets 18 out of 20. Controls are on point, they score 19 out of 20. Visually, I love the work they've done here with Doomsday Hunters. It has a very unique aesthetic. While on the surface of it, it looks like a combination of 2D and 3D, the isometric perspective works very well. It's running almost at a flawless frame rate, and load times are fast. It doesn't completely avoid repetition visually between some of the areas, and I think that's probably a product of some of the procedural generation. But with that said, the different character classes, the many bosses, and the overall bombastic nature of the on-screen proceedings are heightened by this artistic style. Throw in a few nice touches like some reflections in water and the aforementioned HD rumble, and it's standing itself out from a very busy crowd. The soundtrack's very good, but I wouldn't say it's outstanding. It's a little more understated than some of the other aspects. Audio and sound effects, however, are really nice. With so many different weapons and enemies, they clearly thought it was important to add in a little bit of audio variety, and there are some truly strange sounding creatures in this game. In handheld, it runs just as well. Text size, see what you think. I have very much enjoyed playing it in handheld mode. I'm thinking it's 60 frames per second consistently, which is lovely. I know someone will ask, can I turn off screen shake? And the answer is, the answer will be on screen, because I'm going to check it after I've recorded. On balance with some of the repetitive elements, but the overall quality, I'd give the visuals and performance 16 out of 20. Sound and audio scores 17 out of 20. That then takes us on to value. Currently here in the UK, the game is £12.99. It has a 15% discount on its usual RRP of £15.29. Compare that to the likes of Hades, which it has to be said is the tippity top. That game retails at £22, Dead Cells is also £22, and The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth is £35. So I think it's got excellent value for money. What remains to be seen is the overall longevity. A single run can take around about an hour, but there seems to be constant upgrades and unlocks, and I would really hope that the developers get the, support they need to continue expanding the world. It's a surprisingly good game. Still, I'm very happy to say that I would give value 18 out of 20. Doomsday Hunters has come out of completely the left field. I didn't know what it was, I didn't expect it. I honestly had slightly dismissed it, and then I played it. It's absolutely great, and I highly recommend you pick it up while it's on sale at the moment. It gets my wholehearted recommendation and a current SwitchUp score of 88%. Ay caramba. And I quite look forward to a week from now when some of you are like, I can't put it down. I haven't stopped playing it. And fair play to the developers, it's really a good game. Well done. Thanks so much for watching the content. If you want to save 10% more on this game, you can use code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg, where you'll get 5% off instantly on your eShop credit and 5% back in coins, and Nintendo will pat us on the head and say, well done lads. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya! Oh man, that was a tough one, my voice almost went then.